Welcome to this week's edition of Black Authors Matter TV, where we interview the latest movers and shakers in the African American literary community. You'll meet some old friends, discover new ones, and stay abreast of the latest book developments around the country and even the world. So sit back and relax for the next 2 hours with Black Authors Matter TV co-hosts Gwen Richardson and Dr. Rhonda Lawson.
Hello, it is December 13th, and you've reached another episode of Black Authors Matter TV. I'm Gwen Richardson, your host for tonight, and my co-host will be joining us shortly. Before we get started, I do have a couple of announcements, and I hope you all have had a great holiday season so far. I'm enjoying mine, and I love the Christmas season. This is a wonderful time of year. So if you want to see some of the photos from the National Black Book Festival, we are still posting photos because we had over 300 photos. So, and we're trying to give everybody a little sunlight and their attention. So they're on our Facebook page and Instagram if you want to check that. For those of you all who don't know about it, there's this TV series called Kindred. And I want to welcome Rhonda Lawson, my co-host, to the show. She's here. Kindred is based on the book by the late novelist, science fiction and fantasy writer, Octavia Butler. I read a whole bunch of her books, including Kindred, and it's on Hulu. So go check it out. I plan to check it out because I want to see what they did with it. So, and then I have some books that I got in for myself this week. So I'm going to quickly show them to you, just so you know, these are based on people who've been on the show. And we are giving away 2 books, but I'm not going to even announce it until after this first interview. So first, I want to thank Janice Kearney for sending me a copy of her book about Mahalia Jackson, Only on Sundays. She sent me an autographed copy. Thank you, Janice, for doing that. I got a copy of Wanda Morris's book, Anywhere You Run. She was on the show a few weeks ago and before the book came out. And then I also got her previous books. I'm interested in getting, and she's been getting a lot of good attention for this book. So I'm ready to get into those. And then this is really the one I'm truly excited about. You may remember the book Black Hollywood.
Yes.
This was on the show about a month ago. I got my own copy. This is an amazing book. I just opened it to one of the pages. Look at this.
Gorgeous.
He
is so talented when it comes to lighting.
And he has some amazing narratives too in here. It's not just pictures. So I can't wait. These came today. So I can't wait. So anyway, we're going to start with our show. We have our first guest in the waiting room, and we're going to bring her on. Her name is Desiree Cooper. She has a book, a children's book. It's called Nothing Special. And her book is based on her growing up in Virginia, I think it is, but you can tell us. And I really like the cover that she had designed for her book. It was very eye-catching, and somehow we lost her. So she's a former journalist. This is her first children's book, and the characters are based on her father and his great-grandson. So as soon as she comes back on in the waiting, I don't know what happened, but she might have been changing devices. But yeah, it happens. So but I do this book is so beautiful.
Just the cover is beautiful by itself. It could be framed.
It is. It's just amazing. Now somebody's in the waiting room, but no, that's the person.
That's the next person.
That's the next person. So okay, there she's back. Desiree Cooper's back. So, but anyway, beautiful book, beautiful. Corral, you outdid yourself. So, but Desiree is going to come on and talk about her book, and I think the setting is during the Great Migration. We keep losing her. She came and then she went.
Oh man,
we lost her again.
She
But
must be having some, I wonder if it's storming where she is.
well, it's supposed to be storming where I am. It hasn't started yet.
Oh, well, I see she's in Chesapeake, and my internet was acting funny earlier. It was like going in and out. So I'm hoping that same thing isn't going on where she is.
Yeah, I was supposed to get weather like right at 7, but now it's going to be more like 9. So I'm hoping. So if I blink out, then you take it away because I can. We don't control the weather. That's one thing for sure.
Right, right.
We're supposed to have a cold front come through, with weather, and then
A cold front is probably 60 degrees in Houston. I'm not thinking about you,
okay,
Gwen.
It was 75 today.
I'm saying I'm sitting here wearing a hoodie and you're wearing a lightweight shirt. I don't want to hear it.
Well, cold front for us is like mid-40s at night and 60 during the day. That's
Okay, whatever.
So we're waiting on
Just bring a coat when you come for the Black History Month.
I am. I'm looking at my calendar now to see because I have to plan some other things around it that I'm going to be doing for Black History Month. So I have to make sure it's not that weekend, but I'm excited. She can't unmute herself. So let me all I can do is ask her to unmute.
She says she can't get the video either. Uh-oh. But if we can go without video and at least hear her, then I think we can still move forward.
Yes, because we have her picture there.
Right.
So, do we have her phone number? If she can hear us, then maybe we can call her so we can get the audio on.
Yeah, I can try to do that.
Let me have her number on the.
Yeah, I'll give her
an interview thing. Okay, we're going to try calling, and Desiree, don't feel bad about this at all, because this happens several times where people couldn't get we couldn't get it to work on their end, and so Rhonda is really more into solving tech issues than me.
Wait, I think I have her.
Okay.
Hi, Desiree.
Okay, let me get off of speaker.
Okay.
There you go. Can you hear me?
Yes, but it's an echo. I think.
Wait, it might be my fault. Hold on.
Okay, you're muted now, Rhonda. Did you know that? Okay. She's muting herself, so we can. She's gone now. Did she realize she needed to still stay on so we could at least have her picture? Well, Rhonda is chatting with Desiree so we can figure out how we can make this work. And so we've got one more shot at it, and we'll keep trying as long as we have the time available. We'll keep trying till we get her on so we can see about her book. Nothing special. Because I was hoping she could hold up the book.
Participants to unmute themselves.
Okay, I think it's saying that you're not allowing her to unmute.
Oh no. I asked her to unmute. I don't have anything else. I'm asking her to unmute. I don't.
It still won't let you unmute this, Desiree?
Yeah, because I haven't muted anything.
Is there a setting? Can you make me a host?
Because I can mute myself or I can mute everybody. But neither one of those options is on.
Okay,
So,
and you said that you asked her to unmute?
Yeah, I asked her to unmute, which should splash something on her end so she will know that she needs to unmute.
That's so strange. I'm wondering what else may be going on, because she says she sees your notification to let her that you want her to unmute, but Zoom isn't letting her unmute.
On her Zoom screen, on where the mute is at the bottom, is she able to click it? Well, no, you should click the mute button
Right, I'm clicking everywhere.
to unmute. Because it goes, you can, then you can unmute. So, I'll mute my audio.
See, can you switch, Gwen, can you switch over to let me be the host so I can maybe see what she's looking at or what you're looking at?
Yes, I gotta figure out how to do it. I can't remember now.
I think if you go to participants,
Yeah, go to
Okay.
participants.
Yeah, I got it.
Okay. Okay, oh, wait, we're not letting Marlene in. Hold on. Okay, let me go to participants. I'm asking you to unmute. I just clicked on ask to unmute.
I'm clicking on the button that says unmute. Now nothing is happening. I'm trying to unmute myself.
Yeah, it's not letting her unmute. I'm clicking the button to say ask to unmute, but apparently her side is not letting her unmute.
That's unusual. Well, we can still use the audio part. If she leaves her phone on where we can see her picture, we can
Yeah.
still use your phone as the audio.
Okay,
we
so what
can-
I'm going to do is I'm going to mute so we don't have feedback. And then you'll be able to hear her through the phone. Through the computer, because she's still on the phone.
Okay. So
All
do
right.
you want me to reclaim host, or you're gonna stay being the host? Oh, it doesn't matter. I was reading your lips. Okay. All right. Well, you all who are watching and then watching the show, thank you all for your patience as we try to work out this challenge with Desiree so we can hear about her book, and at least we can hear from her about what her book is about. And then Rhonda will put the information in the chat so you can see the cover, since we can't have her on video. Okay, I see some of the people that are on, our regular viewers, Lydia Brew, Mary Evans, Tony Benita, Kay Larry, and Dinesha Donald is on. We are getting our first guest set up for audio because she's having problems with coming on camera. So for those who just tuned in, give us a moment and we are going to get it worked out. So Rhonda's talking to Desiree right now.
Gwen, can you say something?
Yes, testing.
Okay, Desiree, are you able to hear Gwen talking? Okay, great. And Gwen, can you hear Desiree?
It's very low. Is she talking into whatever?
I'm gonna see if I how's that if I put her closer to the speaker? How about this? Can you hear her now?
can you hear me now?
Yes, it's still low though. Can you
Okay.
raise the volume on your phone
Yeah.
maybe?
Okay, try to say something now, Desiree.
All right. Can you hear me better
That's
now?
much better, much better.
Okay,
Oh, good, good,
perfect,
good.
perfect. Okay, so let's go ahead and start this interview.
Yes, because we only have a few minutes left.
Yeah.
So Desiree, your book is called Nothing Special, and Rhonda is going to put the cover in the chat, so in the comments, which we call chat too, so people can see the cover. But tell us the background for the book, and it is a children's book, and just tell us what inspired you to write the book and the premise of the book, what the book is about.
Well, thanks for working so hard to make this available. I do appreciate this opportunity so much. So, Nothing Special is sort of an ironic name because there's so much packed into this little picture book. It's a buddy story about a boy in Detroit who is going down south to visit his grandparents in Virginia. And he thinks he's going to do all the city things that they usually do. He wants to go to the mall. He's thinking about the zoo. He's thinking about movies. When he asks his pop-pop what they're going to do, pop-up says, I think I'll do a few things that we did when I was a boy. And Jax is like, what? And pop-up says, nothing special. And then, of course, they do a lot of low-tech, very engaging one-on-one intimate things during the day that turns it into one of the most special days of his life. So they do things like go crabbing. They're on the Virginia shore on the Atlantic, and they go crabbing. They shuck corn and have a crab boil later. They hand make a kite. They catch fireflies, and really just have a spectacular day. But Gwen, I would say that two things inspired the story. One is it is based on my actual dad, who passed away in 2020 at the age of 86. And my grandson, Jax, who was about 6 years old when I started writing the story. And those two, separated by 80 years, were the best buddies ever. And they were actually great grandfather and great grandson. In the book, they were grands, but they were actually great. And I was just so impressed and warmed by their relationship that I wanted to capture it. And I knew that relationship was possible because of the sacrifices that my dad made as a young man growing up in the Jim Crow South. And he did what many people did, and that is leave the South and go to northern cities to escape Jim Crow. They were hoping, and for more opportunity in the North. My dad was one of the ones late in the Great Migration who, instead of going north or west, went into the military. And that's a rarely told story, but it was one of the avenues during the Great Migration for escape out of segregation and white supremacy. And by making that choice, he made some options available to our family that we reaped generations later. And I am so sorry we don't have video, because one of the very, very, very special things about Nothing Special is the art. It is not drawn. It is not painted. Everything in the book, every single thing you see in every illustration was handmade by a fabrication artist and then photographed. So the images look like, for Beck Sloan is the illustrator. She would kill me for saying this, but it almost looks like dolls. Or if you think of stop animation, how 3D stop animation looks. This is what the book looks like. So the grass, the shoes and the shoestrings, the crabs were carved out of balsa wood and hand painted. The sky is fabric. The water is fabric. And the visuals are absolutely, I can brag about this because I didn't do that part, absolutely stunning visuals. I think that's part that, and bringing to life the story of now, generations later, what that Great Migration has brought to successive generations. And then how hard the Black family has struggled to remain connected during our captivity in the United States, and then the terrorism that kept our families separated and apart. And so it kind of captures all that. That's the subtext. That's the Black trauma. But for children, I wanted to share the Black joy. And the joy of the intergenerational relationship is what's front and center in the book.
And that's actually the comment that I was going to make. I love the premise of the story being nothing special, because some of our best memories with our grandparents and our parents are often really just sitting around, not doing anything exciting, not doing events, but just sitting around and just being with each other. I mean, some of my most fond memories with my daughter is when we would curl up on the couch and watch TV together, watch movies together, because that was our us time.
Right.
That was that mommy daughter time. So when you described your book, excuse me, that's what I pictured. This child just enjoying being with his grandfather.
And I think, I mean, Black children's literature has come such a long way. And I think at first there was this haste to catch everyone up on history, and get their education right and make sure the kids knew all that. And so I think there was a lot of focus on very, very serious and sometimes stories that are hard for kids to really understand, really get their heads around. Like, you can't really expect a 3-year-old to understand the Rosa Parks story, because their grandmothers are the most important and powerful women in their lives. So who can make them stand up and get it? It doesn't make any sense to them until they're a lot older. But now we're starting to get books that, while they respect and lift that history and expose children, like sort of the tip of the iceberg of what that is, they also are focusing on the ordinary, beautiful aspects of our lives. It's Black kids can roller skate just like white kids. Black kids can make monster masks just like white kids. And it doesn't have any bigger meaning than that. They're just putting masks on. And so I think just to show a Black family, especially 2 Black males, interacting in a way that is absolutely non-fantastic. It's very ordinary, but maybe more and more cherished in these days as we get further and further away from those kinds of activities. So that was definitely a goal as well.
Well, that's wonderful. I'm from the Virginia area where crabbing took place. In fact, when I was growing up, I'm from Newport News, so a lot of people.
Very close to where you are.
Yeah.
Yes,
the crab factory was a big thing when I was growing up. There was a crab factory, and people, a lot of people were employed there. A lot of Black people were employed there. And also, even though we were in Virginia, which is considered the South, but we were still north of where my parents started out in North Carolina. So in the summer, we went to North Carolina for the summer. So even though we were South, we were north of some of the other Southern states, and my grandparents lived in North Carolina. That's where my parents were from. So we used to do that. And we used to, my uncle took us fishing, catching the fireflies, all the things that you talked about. We used to put them in a jar. They don't light up if you put them in a jar, but we would always try to do that.
Because we saw it on TV.
Right.
we just tried it. We didn't really see it on TV. We just tried it. We just thought of it and tried it. But it's a simple time. It's those simple activities that help generations bond.
That's absolutely, like going fishing with my grandfather and my great aunt. That's something that they did, and I enjoyed just sitting there, whether I caught a fish or not. I just enjoyed being with them.
You're right.
Desiree, you actually hit a very good point when you were talking about, we're wanting to always get our kids spun up on history, and all of the children's books have to be about history. And history doesn't hit today's child the same way it hit us growing up. At least that's my belief. I was born in 1973. So history hits a little bit different from my daughter, who was born in 1999. Because she's a bit more removed from a lot of the civil rights movement. The civil rights movement was pretty much just coming to an end by the time I was born. So a lot of that meant more to me, because I'm like, oh, this just happened right before I was born. but it seems like ancient history to younger kids, to kids of today, and they feel like we're just trying to crush history down their throats instead of just letting them be.
Yes, absolutely. And the reason they feel like that is just nail on the head. It's because there's such little context for that. I mean, the idea that you could legally actually separate the races, like that is like, what are you talking about? Like,
Right.
you may as well be talking about the face of Mars compared to the lives that they lead now. And frankly, you know, how integration was such a value for a certain generation, and then a generation came along and said segregation is their value. Like, they completely went back on some of the values of the civil rights movement, because it's like a white man's water wasn't colder, come to find out, you know, and maybe we were better off in some of our own communities with our own businesses and our own schools. And so, because we've kind of been up, down, and around, and evidently back to where we started now, the context has been lost. And so I do think that makes it more important to tell the stories and keep them alive. But we have to remember that, you know, we're planting them on soil that is not able to receive the stories in the same way that we were. I was born in 1960. And, you know, I remember going into back doors, and I remember my dad was in the military. We had to stay in the car, you know, we couldn't get into some hotels and things like that. So I remember the first drive-throughs, and they weren't drive-throughs because they were the first drive-throughs. They were drive-throughs because they didn't serve Black people in the dining room. So that's a whole nother show for me than it is for my great grandson, who's like, I want to eat anywhere, let's just go. What's the problem?
Right.
Yeah.
So
Now, did you grow up in Virginia?
Pardon?
She asked if you grew up in Virginia.
Well, because my dad was in the military, I was born in Japan, and spent a lot of my formative years overseas. Both of my parents are Virginians and knew each other from the age of 6.
Okay.
And so I call myself culturally Virginian, because that was always home. And this is another thing that this is what I talk about in the notes of the book, Black nostalgia. So Black nostalgia isn't about roosters and cock-a-doodle-doo and red barns and waving fields of grain like Americana. Black nostalgia is the homecoming, you know, is the church homecoming, is going back, the family reunion, is the reunification of the family. That is what our nostalgia is all about. And so culturally, that was ingrained upon me, you know, that we're going back home. I hadn't been home. I was born in Japan. You know, I hadn't even been in the United States. Was Virginia. And I actually lived for 30 years in Detroit. I was cold the entire 30 years. Detroit was very, very, very good to me. But I'm home now. You know, it's just such a weird mentality. I'm home in Chesapeake, Virginia. Yeah, because that's the roots. That's my family roots. My dad, after the military, came back to this area, and so he was like 50 miles from the place where his family had been enslaved. You know, I mean, you just are. This is where the blood is in the soil, where the stories are in the soil, where we fought to be someone.
Amen.
And this is home.
Well, we only have a minute left, unfortunately. It had to go fast because we had some technical difficulties. But I do want to ask before we separate, I know this is your first children's book. What do you have next? Or what do you have planned for next?
Well, I do have other stories in mind, and hopefully I will be able to collaborate with Beck Sloan again. I would be one lucky woman if I can. But I will tell you, I'm on a wild ride right now. I mean, the book came out in October. It's now one of the 10 best children's books of 2022, according to the New York Public Library, which is quite an
congratulations.
honor. And it's been a selection of social justice books for kids. It's been a selection for them. So I'm just trying to get on this horse and kind of take it as far as I can and get it in as many children's hands as I can. And so until then, I'm not going to be doing anything special. I'm just
Nothing
There you go.
special.
There you go. I love it. I love it. Well, thank you so much for being on the show. I'm sorry we had some technical difficulties, but I'm glad we were able to overcome them.
Yes, and people can get more information about the book at descooper.com, descooper.com. And the book is available everywhere, online, wherever you're usually, shopping. It's there. So I do appreciate it so much. Thank you, thank you, thank you.
And thank you. We did put your link in the chat, so people will be able to access it and get a copy of this very beautiful book. And then she talked about the illustrations at the beginning of the interview, and you can see a lot of those illustrations on the website.
Absolutely. Thank you so much. I appreciate the chance to chat with you guys.
And thank you. You have a great night, and congratulations on everything.
Thank you.
All right, take care. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Okay. Now, I know Marlene is in the waiting. Is she still
Yes,
there? Wait a
she's
minute.
still
Okay,
there.
So we're going to do these 2 giveaways really quickly. We're not going to
Okay.
give them away. We're just going to give the trivia questions. So, and we'll see who won them at the end of Marlene Duroseau's interview. So the first one, this book is a book called Covenants. It's by Brandon Massey. And it's not a new book, but it is one of my favorites of his. I think I read just about all of his books. So the question on this, the first name of the main character of this book, what is that? Okay, the first name of the main character. And then this book is called The Way Home by Cardia Brown. And it actually it's a celebration of Sea Island family and recipes. It has 100 recipes. So the question for this one is, the author is a contemporary Southern cook of Gullah Geechee descent. What city and state is she from? So what city and state is Cardia Brown from? Okay, so whoever gets those answered first will win those books, and they will be shipped to you. So we're going to bring on our next guest, and Rhonda, do you want me to?
I'm taking her out.
Okay,
now.
all right.
Yeah.
So,
I'm so used to you doing it, I forgot.
Know,
So I
know, but I'll just let you go on for the rest of the night. How's that?
Desiree doesn't want to leave now. Okay, there we go.
Yeah.
There we
Okay. All right. Okay. All right. Marlene Duroseau. Did I
Hi.
pronounce it correctly?
Yes, you did. Thank you. Can you
Okay.
hear me okay?
Yeah, beautifully.
Yes, we can hear you
beautifully.
great.
Okay, thank you.
So welcome to Black Authors Matter TV.
Thank you so much for having me. It's such an honor. Thank you so much.
And you have your book is about a subject that a lot of women have challenges with, and
Right.
that is fertility.
Yes.
Some people have fertility challenges.
Right.
And the title of your book is called It'll Happen by 30. So did someone tell you that you would get pregnant by 30? Is that what that's based on?
You know, it's funny because no, to answer your question, no one told me that. What happened was I was still young, and I just always knew that I wanted a lot of kids. It started off with, I think I want 10 kids, but obviously by the time I became older, I'm like, no, we're not having 10 kids. So, my husband and I were really young, and we weren't really trying, but at the same time, nothing really happened. So in the meantime, we decided to just get, checked out just to make sure everything was okay. And when it just year after year didn't happen, in the back of my brain, I'm like, I'm not worried about it. It'll happen by the time I'm 30. And at that point, if it doesn't, we need to figure out what's happening, right? To take it further.
Okay.
And that's where the title came from.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
And this is you have another book called Kaysen and Camden. Yes, we're twins, but I'm still me. So tell us about It'll Happen by 30 first. Because you said it's a relentless journey of faith. And that's what it takes sometimes.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Sometimes, and I've talked to many couples
Okay.
that tried to get pregnant. It was so much pressure.
Right.
And I said, what y'all need to do is relax. And then
Yes.
you'll get pregnant.
Right.
Because there's something about being tense and just trying too hard, you know. There's
And
something,
you're
I don't know.
absolutely right. That's the way the body responds is no matter whatever you're trying to do, if you try
Exactly.
too hard, it's not
Right.
going to happen.
Right.
Right. And a lot of times that happens because of stress. And even if it's
Right.
not necessarily trying to conceive, if you're so totally consumed with whatever it is that you're trying to do, more
Yes.
than likely it's not going to work. You have to take a step back and relax a bit. So we did hear a lot of that over the years too.
Right. I know two couples
Right.
that thought they just kept trying and then didn't get pregnant. Then they adopted and then they got
Right.
pregnant because the
Exactly.
pressure was on.
Exactly.
So it's, this is the way it works sometimes.
Exactly. Exactly. So a little bit about the book. It's funny because when I started writing, it wasn't with the intention of having a book published. It was a way for me to cope and deal with, I had a miscarriage, child loss, and then just trying again and trying again. And one of the things I felt was that there really weren't any resources available to help me because, we tried for a long time. It never really happened. And finally, when it did, I suffered, child loss. We lost our daughter at 22 weeks one day, had to go through the whole labor and delivery, pushed her out,
Mm.
everything.
Oh,
And at that point, I have to tell you, ladies, it was horrible because
I'm sure.
where do you go? Who do you talk to? No one understands, and, I'm of Haitian descent. I was born here in America, but my parents are Haitian immigrants. And in our culture, what I started to learn about it wasn't until after it happened to me that, oh, this happened to Aunt such and such, or,
Right.
grandma went through that, or, oh no, it's fine. It'll happen again. Don't worry about it. And I was kind of like shocked because it's like, put your big girl panties on and let's move forward. You're not the first one. Just keep it pushing. Right.
Wow.
And
And that's sad that it's happened so many times that now it doesn't phase them as much because it's happened
Right.
so much.
Exactly. And not only because it happens so much, it's also because I guess they figure like, don't dwell on it. It happens to everybody. It's not necessarily your fault. It's just something normal, move on. Right. And I know they were probably saying that in a way to try to help inspire and motivate. But as someone who suffered that loss and just really didn't know what to do, I was intrigued. I'm like, okay, well, tell me a little bit more. Let me Google, let me try to do research. And quite frankly, there weren't a lot of resources.
Uh-oh. I think you hit mute by mistake.
Oh, I thought it was me.
Oh,
Okay. Yeah. If you can
Can you hear me?
unmute, Marlene,
okay.
there you are.
Keep
I
going.
was getting a call. I put my phone on do not disturb, but it's someone was calling in. My apologies for that.
That's okay. So you might want to backtrack a little bit because we missed like maybe a sentence of what you said.
Okay, I apologize for that. What I was saying was, quite frankly, I wanted to know more about people's experience and just infertility and miscarriage in general. And as I started to Google and just try to ask, and you also feel like you don't want to bother anybody because you feel, that you're a bother by trying to find out more information. So I said, you know what, once everything happened and I kind of went through my infertility journey, I said, this could not have been just for naught. Obviously, I have the kids, so thank God for them. But I said, I have to be able to give back in a way where other women, men, or, families that are dealing with infertility can have a tangible and real resource, someone they can go to, someone that understands and has been there to help them get through it. And that's kind of sort of what happened with the book. I was journaling for a long time just to kind of work out my feelings, sift through it, just because I felt I didn't really have much people to talk to. And, I know I'm repeating myself, but, you'll call your friend, you'll call your mother, but after a while, you feel that they feel like, enough already.
That you're bothering them.
Exactly. And it probably wasn't the case, but that's how you feel, but when you have no real resource or support, you just really don't know, what to do. So I really was intrigued to share the story because I said, I can't just be the only one. You know, there's so many people going through it, and the statistics are staggering. You know, it's 1 in 8 couples have suffered infertility. And what that means is you could be in the grocery line at Walmart or Publix, and 8 people are in line, at least one of them, you know, the statistics show that they've dealt with some kind of infertility. And not only is, you know, it affecting a lot of people, many people don't want to talk about it. It's a very taboo topic, you know, and it's hard because unless someone has gone through it, you'll have people that know how to empathize, but unless someone has gone through it, you feel like, oh, I can talk to you, you understand, and they let it out, you know. So after like I said, my fertility journey is over. My husband and I were able to conceive via IVF, because part of that weight too has to do with seeking different alternatives. You know, are you going to open your mind to doing things in a way that you didn't originally plan? Because sometimes you have a plan. Okay, the plan is you want to do this by 20, you want to do this by 25.
We put ourselves on these timelines and we think that we have to stick with them.
Exactly. And then, you know, and it's one thing to set the timelines, but what do you do when you don't reach that particular timeline? What do you do when the way you thought it would happen is not how it happened? And now you have to be open to seeking different alternatives, because that's a whole other conversation, because, you know, modern medicine can be very controversial as well. But, you know, I'm a person of faith and I believe in medicine. I believe in both. So, you know, the doctors are there, the specialists are there to help you. And if you seek, you shall find. And, you know, after my husband and I finished our journey, I said, I want to be able to give back and help other people, because this was very debilitating for me and for us, but we're on the other side of it now. So how can I give back to help? And I think the book is a really, really good testament to that, because not only there's one thing to read about someone's story, like I'm on here now explaining to you just in general a little bit of a series of events, but there's something different about going back and reading it day by day, line by line, as it actually happened, you know? So you can say, oh, you still have to work, you still have to be around your family, you still have responsibilities that you have to do.
That kind of brings me to the question I wanted to ask you.
Yes.
Is, especially as it pertains to African-American women, Black women who go through this, does we talk a lot about the strong Black woman on this show. Do you feel like that often comes into play where Black women who go through this feel like they have to be strong, they have to put on this tough front, even though they may be hurting inside, but they can't show it?
Absolutely, absolutely. The pressure to keep going, the pressure to not show weakness, the pressure to just push through. You can do it. It's part of, you know, your struggle. And it's something that I think is inherent within the Black woman in our culture, which is why, you know, we want to take a step back. I created a company after I published the book. I created a company, MCD Business Enterprise, and the motto of my company is Where Women Matter. And I think that although, you know, we do want to push our Black women forward and make us strongholds and, you know, don't show weakness, you know, how you feel matters. And as Black women and as women in general, we hold the weight of the world on our shoulders. You know, we actually do have a lot of power, but who do we go to for support, right? And you have to be able to let each other know, give each other a little grace, let each other know, you know what, you're doing a great job. Take a step back, rest a little bit. You don't have to save the whole world all in one day.
And we do always feel like we have to save the world, and we do make ourselves martyrs often. I mean, I'm almost 50 years old and I'm still trying to break that habit of feeling like I have to be everything to everybody and have to be there for everybody.
Exactly.
Yeah, you'll get over it though.
I know. But as we get older, we're learning that we can still do that, but we can do it on our terms. You can do it on your own terms, but it takes experience.
Guess what?
Yes.
Peace becomes more important the older you get.
Yes.
And stress kills people.
Yes.
So
it absolutely does.
You have to decide, you know, you want to live as long as you can in good health, because you won't do anybody any good
Exactly.
But the
If you're
thing is,
not,
if you drop dead today or tomorrow, they're gonna try to find
Everybody
somebody
moves
else to do
on.
it anyway.
That's it. Immediately.
well, that could very well
Immediately.
be, but then we won't
Exactly.
know.
Exactly.
We
Exactly.
won't know about it.
And that's why platforms like this and what I'm trying to do with building the company is important, because we know this, but unfortunately, a lot of us realize it after so much time has gone by and we're so much older. Not to say that you can't make an impact, but even me, I'm 41 now. And if I knew then what I know now, oh boy, Marlene would be totally different. And that's why, life experience definitely helps you. So one of the things that we have to strive to do is allow each other to know that there's a safe space. Even if you don't save the world and do everything today, you won't be judged. It's okay. Your peace of mind matters. Your stress level matters, right? What you want to do matters. And we have to preach that so that the stigma around being the strong Black woman, strong woman can start to crumble down, because until we allow each other that space and just change the narrative, it'll still happen, especially with, topics that are really delicate, like fertility and things like that,
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Each decade brings a different viewpoint of life and different goals.
Yeah.
So the 20s is the decade of adventure. That's
Yes.
the one where you do crazy stuff, fun stuff.
Right.
You do the stuff that, you thought you like, good grief, I'm just so happy that could have really ended badly.
Right. Like,
but you have to get out, that's when you get out there and do stuff. And that's, you need that.
Exactly.
But each decade brings something different. And I never was well, I had a miscarriage before I had my daughter.
Oh no.
And at the time, a lot of, and I don't know if men couldn't possibly understand it. I don't know if a woman who hasn't had a miscarriage can understand it, but it can be devastating. I didn't, I found out, I didn't even know I had miscarried. I went on my first 10-week appointment, and the doctor was taking a long time on the ultrasound.
Right.
And then, so I knew that was, my first time being pregnant. I knew something was wrong because she was taking too long. And so she turned it off. She said, "Ms. Richardson, I need to tell you your baby has died, and because there's no heartbeat." And when she first said, I was just stunned. And she said, "I'm going to go get someone to come in and help you." And then when she left, I just burst out in tears. I was just devastated.
Right.
It's just, but if I hadn't miscarried, I wouldn't have my daughter.
Right.
Who I just love more than I love myself, because we were only planning to have one. My husband already had 3 children. And so, from his previous marriage. And so I originally wanted 3 kids, but once I was helping him raise 2, I said, okay, we'll just have 1. Right. And so, but that when you really want a baby at the particular time, and the doctor tells you you've miscarried, and the next day I had to go get the DNC. So it was, but I never did, I guess release the products of conception. That never happened. I didn't even know.
Right. And it's very tough, because like you said, someone who hasn't experienced it, some people have, are really empathetic, so they can, help you get through it. But it's funny because when you go through it, especially how you said you weren't expecting that. So you're going into your appointment thinking everything is great.
Right.
Okay. And then when you hear that, it hits you like a ton of bricks, and
It
you
does.
really don't know.
Yeah.
You don't know what to do. You don't know how to feel.
Yeah,
and
you may start thinking about what did I do wrong?
Yes,
exactly.
Yes. And then you start thinking, can I get pregnant?
Right.
Can I carry a baby to term? Maybe that I can't have a child. All those things go through your mind. And I called my husband, because I went just by myself. I called him on the phone. I was in tears, and I couldn't even talk.
Right.
Because it was just so devastating.
It's not an easy situation, and regardless of how far along you are, it really hurts, because you think about the what ifs, and then you think about what else could I have done? And then the urge to
Right.
want to do it again, it increases. And when you're hearing people around you, if you happen to share it, tell you, oh no, yeah, that happened to me. Don't worry about it. You'll get pregnant again. You're like, wait,
Right.
but wait, what do I do with these feelings? I'm sad. I'm
Yes,
angry.
yes, yes.
Wait,
Right.
pause. Help me,
Right.
help me.
And that, I think that's the difficult part. And I'm wondering if you address this in the book, the
Yes.
people who want to help, they
Yes.
want to say the right thing, and often they
Yes.
say the wrong thing, like saying
Yes.
things like, oh, you'll have other children, or don't worry, this runs in the family. It doesn't
Right.
deal with what you're going through at that
Correct.
moment.
Correct.
So and like I said, they mean well, they want
Right.
to help, but what does a person do when they want to be able to say the right thing, but they're
Exactly.
not saying the right thing?
One of the important missions on my new platform too is to show people how to be what I called friends of infertility. Because, in our family, you do have some people who's never experienced it. And like you said, although you've never been through it, how can you best equip yourself to help someone who is going through it, or help someone who has experienced it? And I do get into that a lot in the book. And I kind of also give examples of what some of my friends who didn't know what the heck was going on or how to help me, and just them. You also think about just being a supportive person, right? What would I
Yes.
do in a
Mhm.
time of
Right.
support to
Right.
help this person? So I go over different ideas and different suggestions that one can do. And some of them are above and beyond what my own friends and family, did, that ended up helping me. I didn't realize at the time that it was helping me, but hindsight, I go, okay, you know what? That is one of the best things. So that's something I also try to bring awareness to, is how to be a friend of infertility, how to be supportive and understanding and help somebody through it, because people need as much help as they can get. Because I'm going to tell you, ladies, one day you're up, one day you're down. It's just the same grieving process. And you never know how you're going to feel on any given day and what your triggers are. So you have to learn about triggers and learning it's okay to say no, because sometimes you'll get invited to that baby shower, or, you'll get invited to the holiday family, event or friend event where everybody is there with their kids. And it's difficult. And sometimes we feel guilty or bad for not going, or thinking people are going to think we're mean, or people are going to think we're
Yes.
jealous. But no, it's okay to that's what I mean about cultivating that safe space to allow us to have those moments and not feel bad about them, because they're all normal and you will get through it.
Well, along those same lines is something that we haven't really touched on.
Yeah.
And I had a soldier whose wife lost the baby.
Okay.
And we were all trying to be there for her.
Right.
And one day I said, how are you doing? Because, I was in the military. I said, how are you doing? Because
thank you for
you
your
lost a
service.
child too.
Yes.
And I think that sometimes people forgot that
Right.
he's going through this just as much as the mother is going through it.
Exactly. And I touch on that on the book a lot too, because my husband, poor guy, he didn't know if he was coming or going,
Right.
or what to do. So it's really important to also check on the men. And one of the things that my publisher, Ms. Julia Royston with BK Royston Publishing, she was very gracious and also thoughtful, like what you just explained, and have support groups for the men, because again, the men lost these children as well, or are in the struggle with their partners trying to get pregnant. So, and it's really funny the type of response you get from the men, because it's sometimes not what you think that they would say or how they would feel, but they need a way to let it out too, because the men are also inherently, supposed to be strong and quote unquote, don't show weakness and not feel a way. But it's important to validate and acknowledge their feelings too. So I talk about my husband's perspective a lot in the book. He also put in some input on his perspective. And one of the things we try to do now is incorporate the men and how to help them, how to allow them to share their feelings, and how they too can help their wife, which would in turn help them. Because sometimes the men are just sad because their wives are sad. Like they don't like to feel helpless. And that's something sometimes what one of the men on a panel said, that they just felt helpless and they felt like they failed because they couldn't help, their partner, so it's a lot to unpack. And we definitely talk about that aspect of it in the book as well.
Yeah, so
That
much
was a
of
great point.
fertility is tied to womanhood, to our idea of womanhood.
Right.
Fertility equals womanhood, what it really, what gives a woman meaning even.
Right.
So when there's a challenge in that area, sometimes you do need to talk to somebody.
Exactly.
Just because it can have psychological consequences on the person.
Yes.
Now, when with our situation, it was interesting because once we decided to get pregnant, I got pregnant immediately that first time.
Okay.
When I had the miscarriage, I mean, a month didn't even pass. It was just,
Wow.
so yeah, so I mean, and then it didn't take, so then, so we waited
Right.
a few months before we tried again. And then it didn't happen immediately. So then I'm saying, okay,
Uh-oh.
yeah,
What's happening now? Because
Yeah,
it's
what's
funny, because
happening?
sometimes you're not trying and then boom. And then when
Yeah.
you're ready for it, it's like, where are you? Why are you taking so long?
Yeah, well, I had a friend that was a nurse and she dealt with women trying to get pregnant. And she told me to take it was 4 vitamins. I don't even remember what they were.
Right.
But I took them for 30 days and I was pregnant.
Oh, okay.
So she gave
Okay.
me, it was like a B12. It
What
was
vitamin was that so I
I don't
cannot take it?
remember.
Okay,
Sylvia's
I'm about to say so I cannot take it.
You don't want that one, do you, Dr. Lawson? Like,
No, I mean, I would love to have another child if it were about 20 years earlier.
Right. Right.
Yeah,
I know.
because I started to get nervous after I didn't get pregnant right away. And so, but it was 4 of them. I know B was one, and I think D was the other one. And I don't remember the other 2, but it worked.
Yeah.
And then,
that's good.
at that first appointment again, I'm really nervous because I'm,
Right.
there wasn't no heartbeat that first time.
Right.
So I was really, but
And
then
we talk about that too, because once you go through a loss like that, and then you finally do get pregnant, the way that you went into the first appointment, not really knowing, that never happens again. You go in a nervous wreck, you're trying to figure out what's going on, you're nervous the whole time until you bring the baby home. So definitely,
yes.
Yeah. And
That's
the other
true.
thing about the book too is that, see, you touched on something where, some people go in and try naturally and it happens. And the book also gets into going through medical treatments, right? IUI and IVF and, the financial impacts of that, the effects that it has on your body and everything like that, because that's a whole other, mission too, to try so hard and have to pay so much and, want to get these results. So that definitely impacts couples as well.
Right. I'm sure it does.
Yeah.
Fortunately didn't have to go through that part. Now, you showed up. We only have 2 minutes left. So show us the cover because you showed us part of it.
Oh, yes. Let me put it up.
Yeah, we want to see the whole cover.
Yeah.
Okay. I love the cover. It's nice.
Thank you so much.
Mm-hmm.
Thank you so much.
And when did the book come out?
The book is out. I had a soft release during COVID. That was last year. So now is when I'm actually, because we're able to be outside, we're able to actually have events and, go to places. And I'm trying to book different live events. And the book is already out. It's available on my site, which is happenbook.com. It's also available on Amazon, Barnes and Noble, Books and Books Miami, all of the Books and Bookstore locations in Miami, and at Librairie Mapoul, which is in the Little Haiti area of Miami, Florida. And that's one of our historic libraries, and the book is available there as well. Now, I do also have a new book that's coming out, and it's actually out, but it's new, like it just has a 2022 date on it. And this one we're really proud of.
Uh-oh, you muted again.
I didn't do anything.
Sorry. So there we go.
Okay.
I'm back. It's called Kaysen and Camden. Yes, we're twins, but I'm still me. And this book is actually kind of like the next leg of our journey, because part of our success, my husband and I, after beating infertility, is the birth of our twins, Kason and Camden.
Okay.
And they're our little miracle babies. They were born at 26 weeks. So yes, Miss Richardson, like you said, you go into those appointments, you're scared, nervous, and having them at 26 weeks was really a challenge. And they were in the NICU for 4 months. So, you know, we're really proud of them. They're doing really well. And the book is a children's book. And it's important because whether or not you're a twin or a triplet, we all deal with being compared, and we all deal with having to you know, fill the shoes of someone else, whether you come from a big family of siblings, right? Oh, well, your sister is doing this, and why can't you do that? Or your brother likes this. And at the end of the day, we're all unique and we're all individuals. So especially in this day and age where I feel the children just need to be reminded that they're different and it's okay. You might have some things that are in common, but it's okay to express your creativity and be different without having to feel the pressure of conforming to either what your sibling wants you to do or how your parents want you to be. We're all different, and it's definitely okay, especially for boys, you know?
Well, we did put your website, as well as I found your Barnes and Noble link. I threw that in there as well. They're both in the chat.
Yes, thank you.
So we wish you best wishes. Keep doing what you're doing, keep inspiring people, and keep encouraging. Because you're discussing a very, very serious topic that we probably don't talk about enough. So thank you for being on the show tonight.
And thank you so much, ladies, for having me. It was definitely a pleasure. Any opportunity we can get to highlight each other as Black women and just women in general, and helping to bring awareness to taboo topics and supporting and motivating each other is what we are all about. And that's what we need to keep doing. So I appreciate the opportunity greatly.
Okay, thank you so much for being a guest on the show.
Absolutely. Thank you for having me. Enjoy your evening.
You too.
And you do the same. Have a great night.
You too. Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Okay, so we have our next guest coming up. I believe, Rhonda, is Sharon in the waiting room?
Yes, Dr. Sharon is in the waiting room.
Dr. Sharon Elliot. And Dr. Sharon, she's an author, but in the last couple of years, she has started her literary agency and really built it up. And she sent me an email saying she had, I forgot how many it was, but she had a whole bunch of clients, let me say that. And I remember your backdrop because it was some kind of thing where the night you were on before, there was a lady who was talking about guessing things mentally, like using your mind to guess colors. You remember that, Rhonda? And we guessed the color of her background before she came.
Yes, yes.
You remember that? That's it, at least a year ago. So,
yes, I remember that.
When you were on. So now you're on as a literary agency representative. And welcome to Black Authors Matter TV, because one of the most frequent questions that we get from people is, how do I get an agent? Where do I find them? People ask me to refer them to agents or tell them, but I don't, because I don't want, first of all, there might not be a match. And if I recommend it, then, you know, that means that I'm endorsing the person's book that I haven't even seen or read or anything. I can't, you know, I can't do that. So I tell them, you can Google their books, you can find. So that's what I do. But anyway, welcome back to Black Authors Matter TV.
Thank you. Good to see you ladies again.
It's good seeing you. And you're looking good in your t-shirt.
Yeah. You've been really busy.
I have.
With your agency work. So first, tell us how you were able to grow it so fast, because I think this has been like a couple of years ago when you were on the show, maybe a year and a half. It's been a while. So how have you been able to build it up, and how many clients do you have now? How many people do you represent?
I represent 58 clients. We're coming up on 60. That's a lot of people. And the question of how I have been able to grow it, it's all God, right? It's all God. I hung my shingle out there, right? I started just as I know it was a thought from him to, how about being a literary agent? I don't hear voices. Let's get that understood.
I hear
Right.
from God, so I know what you're saying. It's
Right, but-
not like a voice, like a human voice.
Right, and it's not like this.
Right, right. No, it's like it's a spiritual.
It's
It
just
gets in your spirit.
Yeah, it's just
The
an
answer.
impression, right?
Right.
I was at a writers' conference. I was on the faculty, actually speaking for another publishing house, right? That I'm involved with, who published my last women's book. So I was actually there as a faculty member teaching, just my classes that I teach and representing that company. And again, just a thought, right? Just dropped into my spirit, right? What about being a literary agent? I didn't know anything about being a literary agent. And so I asked questions. I'll ask questions, right? Nothing, you can't lose by getting educated. So I have friends now. I've been in this industry now for upwards of 30 years, writing and then teaching at writers' conferences and so you meet people. And one of the agents who was there is someone I've known over the years. So I actually got an appointment with him.
Oh, okay.
One of his 15-minute appointments. And I
To
said,
pick his brain.
right, just to pick his brain. And he
Rhonda has
said,
a t-shirt about that says about picking your brain. That's why I said
like, don't pick too much,
Pay
right?
bills.
I know. So first of all, he said, oh, I thought you already were an agent. And I said, well, what do you mean by that? Right. And being an agent has to do with the connections that you have. Then, of course, your knowledge of the industry. And you do have to have a keen sense of what's good. and I don't know, you can't really qualify that, so much. And
it can be subjective. I mean,
it can be subjective, but everyone can learn.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. So even if you don't feel that your book is where it should be, or you might feel that it's where it should be and it's not, right, quite yet. But seeds of an idea can grow. And I think having that sense of, this could probably work if, right? And then having some, like I said, a lot of knowledge of the industry, knowing what it takes to get a book published. All of that is wrapped up in being an agent. And when we finish talking, you ladies have met me. So, if there's an idea that's planted, I'm going to work the idea out to its nth degree. Right. And so the very next 15 minutes was a meeting with someone who had an appointment with me, right, as a faculty member. And so I sat down with her, and she actually was at the conference for her son, because her son had this book idea. So the son ran the book idea by me, but then she had a book idea. And we began to talk, and I said, that is very needed, right, in the book industry, like right now. And her name is Donna Scott. And I said, I would love to help you to get this book published. Do you need an agent?
Okay.
Now, right. I had nothing.
You didn't have any clients yet.
I didn't even have a contract. Right?
Okay.
I just knew I've been in this business for a long time, but I've been walking with the Lord for a long time.
Right.
As well. And when he gives you a move to make, I've learned to make the move. I'm going to let him worry about all the rest of the stuff. And Donna just said, well, yeah, it was kind of like, yeah, I guess. And I just started
She needs
working.
an agent.
Pardon me?
Said, of course she needs an
Of
agent.
course I do. Donna became my first client, and that was in the summer of 2019. She had not finished writing the book yet.
Okay.
So I was already an editor and a book developer. So I worked with her to help her to finish writing the book and editing the book. And then by then I put together my, I had my contract, my
Okay.
agent author contract, and basically really had hung that shingle out. And her book is out, published. She's, she is a marriage, family, and child therapist, and she wrote about the effects of childhood sexual abuse, right? And
okay.
so things just rolled on since then. I would meet people. I put it out there, right? I'm an agent now, and I'm going to help you get your book published. And then COVID,
Right.
hit.
Okay, yeah.
I was teaching school. I taught high school English for 35 years. And when COVID hit and we came home from school to teach from school, it was from home, that was so difficult. And then my school, I was teaching in a private school, my school decided they were going to go back even before we had vaccinations.
Mm.
And my husband, several years before, had open heart surgery. And although he had recovered and all that, I could not bring any kind of germs or anything like that.
Of course not. That's a lot.
Yeah, that's comorbidity.
Right. And so we, made the decision. It was a little bit early for me to retire, but it's like, it's a hard no for me to go back.
Mhm.
And so, okay, I'm going to turn this writing and speaking and agenting and teaching, right, into go do it full time. And since August of 2020.
Okay, so
This
that's,
has
you've had 2 full years. So what types of clients do you take in terms of the types of books? Like, do you specialize in certain types of books with your
That was gonna be
agent?
my question.
Look at that. Look at you
Of course,
guys.
we always think alike. We always
Right, you guessing colors,
Long time.
taking each other's questions. We got to separate you. So yeah, I mainly represent Christian authors, or authors who are coming from that Christian base. Now,
Okay.
you do not, for example, if you're writing children's books, let's say on cleanliness, or something like that, right? Your book doesn't have to preach a sermon.
Right.
Right. But all of my clients are believers, and they're writing. So I do fiction and nonfiction, right? Adult fiction, mainly. Well, I have some men clients as well. So there's some Christian romance. I represent, one lady who has a 7-book series in Christian romance, adult, like I said, fiction, entertaining, people on all kind of levels. And then the nonfiction would be your basic, Christian living, devotionals, parenting, those kinds of books, Bible study. If you want to go that way, I have clients who are writing children's books. Like I said, just about everyone has a series because that's what publishers are looking for. They're not looking for one-hit wonders, right? But just about everyone has a series of books, and I can help you because I'm a book developer. I can also help my clients to develop what they're thinking about, right? So one side, if you're, if the people watching, right, if they want an agent will get 15% of your royalties. That is standard.
Forever.
Not less, not more. That's right, forever.
Forever.
Okay. If an agent comes to you and says, well, yeah, you need to pay me X amount of dollars and then I'll be your agent. Okay, run, Forrest, run. That's not how it works, right? An agent does a lot. I do a lot of work before I see a dime, right? It's all in the royalties. Now, on the other side, I have another side to the company because I do like to eat, and that's more than one time a day. And so the other side to the authorized me company is my editing.
Okay.
Right? And things of that nature. Those have price tags.
Now, what kind of editing do you do? Do you do content editing, copy editing?
I do. Yes, I do content editing and copy editing.
Okay.
Mainly, I'm a book developer.
Okay.
So I'm going to help you with the idea from the beginning of the idea. Okay. Right. And for you to flesh that out. Now, I tell everyone, if you sign with me as your agent, you do not have to use me as your editor.
Would you do both though?
I can do both.
I mean, but for the same client, you would do both?
Yes. I have several clients that I edited their books, as well. But that's a different, I keep it separate. It's a different thing. You are not paying me to find
be your agent.
Right. To find you a contract, to help negotiate the contract, all of that. Right. But you can go to anyone who can edit well. Who is a professional editor. You can go to anyone who's a book developer. Right. It just so happens that I have those skills, as well.
Well, it's good that you can do multiple things. So like you said, the agency part, you don't get paid until you get a signed deal with a publisher for your client, and then they get an advance. That's, that's
if they get an advance.
If they get an advance. Well, okay, if they're with a major publisher, don't they all get advances?
No, ma'am.
No.
Yeah, there's some publishers who don't give advances.
The big ones?
Big companies, big companies, because the big companies have big money.
Yeah, okay. Well, that's what I was referring to, like the big five, the ones that now, I think it's only 5 now, and all those imprints that you see are underneath one of them.
But the majority of your books that are even published by royalty houses are not part of those big 5. There are tons and tons and tons, dozens and dozens of publishers. And the medium-sized publishers, some of them give advances, some don't. So what authors need to understand is that if you get an advance for your book, you are not going to see a dime of royalty until that book sells back the amount of that advance.
Of the royalty. So yeah, I tell people, you might not see money for 2 years.
Exactly.
If ever. You may never. If you don't sell through.
I'm sure that the publisher is honest though.
Well, yes. And that's why that's one of the reasons why you want to have an agent. We are talking about royalty publishing. We are not talking about self-publishing.
Right.
And that's another area that can be just a pit of problems. If you don't know what you're doing. I come across a lot of authors who, and especially Black authors, right, who feel that royalty publishing is closed to them, and those companies are not interested in our books anyway. And so I'm just going to self-publish my book and get all the money for myself. And here's the reason, because I
Right.
want control.
Right.
It's true.
So I always ask, what do you want control of? And 99% of the time, authors have no idea because they don't know the industry.
Mm-hmm.
So
They
you want
think that they're
you
gonna
want to
make more money.
control.
Yeah,
What?
but you can do it yourself and make $20, or you can trust somebody else to help you and make 100,
Right. And the majority of the time, I can look at a book
Mm-hmm.
and tell that it has been self-published. Just because if you don't know the industry and you don't know what you're doing, you're not a book designer, you're not a graphic designer.
Mm-hmm.
For example, books. So I'll give this one away. So all the self-publishers, you're going to stop doing this now. Your books should not have an extra space between every paragraph. That is
no, it should not. Well, see, this is what,
for example,
I tell people, all you have to do is go into a bookstore or a library.
Yeah, and look
the
at a
books that
professional
are
book.
in there, and then you can see what it's supposed to look like in terms of the spacing. And it shouldn't have like 1.5 inch margin on each side.
right?
Mm-hmm.
Because that's another
That's a
another
telltale.
There should be
sign.
a space if you're switching scenes. Then yes, there'll be a space between those paragraphs, but it's not going to be every paragraph.
Right. I'm just giving one example
Right.
of some of the things that are dead giveaways. And then let's start reading the book. Now, remember, I was an English teacher.
Okay.
Right. So it takes me no time to find grammar mistakes, syntax, not knowing where to stop one paragraph and start another one. I mean, capitalization mistakes. We capitalize words because we think they're important.
We think they're important. That's true. I mean, that happens a lot.
Oh, that is so
happens
irritating
a
to me.
lot.
They capitalize everything. They capitalize president, just
Yeah,
because.
and it's only capitalized if the name of the president is with the word president.
Right.
Like President Biden, that's capitalized. But if you say the president went into the Oval Office, that is not capital.
Exactly.
Right. So
exactly.
just little things.
Yeah.
And I know we're supposed to be talking about agenting, but as an agent, it is my job to make sure my clients' books are excellent. And it's important for us to sit down and look at these things. I teach, like I said, the other side of the company. I teach a 12 masterclass series that takes an author from the idea through storyboarding the book so that you're thinking like a publisher is going to think about the book, and that you'll have in the book all the things that need to be in the book. Right. And you'll come at it from the right perspective, even. And so those 12 master classes take 6 months. We do 2 classes a month. And so it's not very time consuming as far as, you taking the courses, but you will have everything that you need. You will end up with a professional book proposal that has been edited and thought, all the way through. Obviously, you'll have your first 3 sample chapters. If it is an adult fiction or nonfiction title, you'll have your first 3 manuscripts. If it is a children's book up to age like 9, the picture books, You'll have all of that that's ready to turn in to a publisher, and you'll know where you're going with the rest of the book. Plus, in those 12 masterclasses, you will get introduction to branding. You'll look for your brand so that you can put that together on your website. We talk about starting a writer's website. All of it, we talk about the business of writing, what it's going to take, right, in this new universe, so that you are actually ready to be an author. You're not just a person who wrote a book, right? Because there's more, there's so much more to when the book comes out, you are not done.
Unfortunately, we see a lot of people from different schools of thought. We see the ones who only want to write and they don't care about marketing. And then we see the ones who want to skip over the writing process altogether just so they can start marketing. They don't really care about making it perfect because they figure it's more important to be a bestseller. And they don't realize often that these two things go hand in hand.
Always.
Right.
Those two things go hand in hand. You're not going to best sell a book that's bad.
Right.
Well, nowadays the term bestseller is watered down
Objective.
because everybody says they're a bestseller, and if they create a small niche of a niche category on Amazon, and then they release their book, and there's only 2 books in that niche, that sub genre, and then their book is the first one because it's only 2, then that's not bestseller. But people call themselves, they do, but now we only have 3 minutes left. So if a person was interested in contacting you about representation, what did they do?
They need to send me a 1-sheet. And if they don't know how to write a 1-sheet, I've taken care of that on my website at authorizeme.net. There's instruction on how to write a 1-sheet. There's an example so that you can see one. And I'm only interested in that, right? That presents your book to me. And then I am able to either make a decision on that, or I'm definitely able to say, this is up my alley, this is something that I think I can represent, or not. And then I can get back to them.
Okay. And so they need to go to your website and fill out. Is it a form or something, or
it's
you
not
just
a form?
upload?
It's instructions on how to write one.
On how? Okay. All right. So if you all are interested in having Sharon Elliott represent you, and with the objective and the goal of ultimately getting a book deal, it could be a royalty-based book deal, which may or may not have an advance, then contact her at authorizeme.net and see what happens. But you have almost 60 clients, so that means you're representing some folks and getting some deals done.
Right, and let me know if you contact me. I just want to know if you saw me here on Black Authors Matter TV, because I want to tell the ladies, hey, guess what? One of your folks, or 2 of your people, or 10 of your people, or whatever.
Well, a few of your people seem to be in the comments. Everybody's like, Sharon is my agent and coach. Sharon is my editor. Sharon.
See, I did what you guys said. I told my people.
Okay.
I set my stuff on out there. Yep, and I would love to help you come on and register for the Authorize Me Masterclass series. Now, let me throw this in right quick before we're done. The price of the Masterclass series is going up in 2023. And so it was already discounted, but it's going up a couple $100. So you'll want to register for that. And all of that is on the website. Okay. You'll want to register before December 22nd for the next semester, which starts in March. And if you register with $100 non-refundable deposit before the 22nd, then you're gonna lock in the 2022 price.
Oh, the lower price. Okay.
Yes.
All right. Well, Sharon, thank you so much for sharing what happens when you contact an agent and what an agent is looking for, and just some of the terms of a contractual arrangement and so forth, so people can have a better idea of what's going on. And thank you for being a guest on Black Authors Matter TV.
Thank you for helping
Once
all
again.
Black authors out there. I love y'all, and you're gonna get my new book to put out there soon. So
Oh, okay. All right. Well, thank you so much. You have a great evening.
okay, Merry Christmas.
Same to you, and Happy New Year.
Thank you.
Now, Rhonda, I'm going to reclaim host only because of the outro. I don't want it to be-
we need you to do
yeah.
that.
Yeah, because I don't, we might just cut off at the end. So we have our next guest in the waiting room, but before we do, did anyone win either of the books? Covenant by Brandon
I
Mann?
didn't see a correct answer for, wait,
And Cardia Brown. Oh, let's see. The Way Home.
yeah, oh goodness, hold on. Too much going on this. I got a million tabs open.
Well, we can look after at the very end.
Okay, but no, I think Mary won one of those.
Okay, well, you'll have to tell me which one.
Yeah,
Let's go ahead and bring our guest
I'm gonna
on,
let you know
and
while
then
we're bringing in the next guest.
we'll we'll do that. So our final guest is Ty Allen Jackson. I didn't know if that was him laying his head down, or I didn't know if he was trying to tell us he was tired. I don't know. But anyway, he has a children's book, and this book is after my own heart, because I believe in this topic for children, and I have a children's, those of you who watch the show know I have a children's series called Kids Biz. So I believe in teaching children about business and money. So he has a book called Make Your Own Money, How Kids Can Earn It, Save It, Spend It, and Dream Big. And he has sold a whole bunch of copies of that book, and we welcome him to Black Authors Matter TV.
Thank you, sister, for having me. It is an honor and a pleasure.
Thank you for being here.
So
The pleasure is mine.
I was reading something about, I forgot how many books that you sold. And I normally never talk about this with people on, but I think you had publicly said that you had sold thousands of copies of your book.
Well, of all of my books, first of all, I'm a predominantly an indie author, except for the book that you mentioned. Out of all of my indie books, I probably sold about 150,000 copies of my independent published books. Of Make Your Own Money, in about a year's time, probably sold about 20,000 copies of that book. So overall, I'm at about 170,000 copies overall.
Amazing.
Wow, that's a lot of sales.
That's a lot of
and
sales.
Those are, you can't sell that many books one-on-one.
Oh, no.
You got to be moving bulk orders. You got to be
hustling and grinding. Lots of bulk orders.
Yeah, lots of bulk orders. So first, tell us what inspired you to write the book about Make Your Money for Children?
Yeah, so it's kind of the spinoff of my first book, which is titled Danny Dollar, The Millionaire Extraordinaire, The Lemonade Escapade. I wrote that book about 10 years ago. That book alone, I've sold about 120,000 copies. And it all sparked from my son asking if he could open up a lemonade stand. He made $50 in 3 hours selling lemonade. He said, "Dad, what am I going to do with all this money?" And I honestly didn't know. So I went to my local bookstore to try to find a book to teach my son about what to do with his $50. I couldn't find a book, so I wrote it. And that's literally how I became an author.
Oh, okay. Well, that's a great story.
Now that's
Thank
what you
you.
call being the mother of invention of
Mhm.
necessity.
Now,
being
how
the
old
mother
was
of
how was
invention.
your son when he had the lemonade stand?
First of all, necessity is the mother of invention. My son was 8 at the time. He's 22 now. So
Okay.
yeah. So, but I grew up in an environment. I grew up impoverished. Single mom had me at 15. My father was in jail for all of my life until I was a teenager, and we were on welfare until probably until I was a teenager. So money was something that was never really discussed. So I like to think that my books about financial literacy are the books that I wish I had as a child that kind of introduced me to the concept of money.
So,
Yeah.
well, and first of all, because Gwen has a lot of books that introduce children to business and money at a young age, which I think is wonderful because so many of us didn't grow up with I wouldn't say not an appreciation for money, but not a respect for money. Not the right view of money. It was
Sure.
always seemed to be something elusive. Or they were growing up as if they had to have all of this money, but they didn't tell us how to make that money. It was just,
Right.
I want to be able to say this and this, but they don't know how to get it. So
Or
they
also
wind up begging for the money.
just how to spend money. I mean,
Right.
that's the extent of what a lot of people, even adults, know. It's just spending it. That's it. Not
Mhm.
saving it, not investing it.
Yeah, you want to say that you
not
have the money.
budgeting it.
Right. You want to say that you have the money so you can spend it and everything, but
Right.
we don't really learn how to make that money. And I think that we're starting to move into that day and age where people are actually learning how to make money now. You see more TikTok and Instagram videos of this is how I made such and such money with my Airbnb business or with my
Right.
investments. We're seeing a lot more of that, which is a great thing.
It's a necessary thing. I mean, like you said, predominantly people are taught money is a tool to spend, not a tool to save, not a tool to invest, not a tool to donate. And so it's really essential that we change the narrative of what money is. It's a tool. Many people think that money is the root of all evil, or that it'll solve all of my problems. It's neither of those things. Money is neither good nor bad. It's a tool. I tell kids all the time that if you had a hammer, you could build something with it or you could break something with it. It's not the hammer, it's the person using the hammer. Money's the same way. You could do great things with it or you could do not such great things with it. It's not the money, it's the person using the money. So in other words, money is a tool for us to use, hopefully to the betterment of our lives.
Amen to
Yeah,
that.
unfortunately, I've seen some people, young people, and these are not children, but young people, teens and 20s, making videos where they're holding up a whole bunch of money. And, that really indicates you don't have it, because either somebody's going to take it from you, or if it's illegal, you're going to get locked up like the rapper that took that COVID money, the unemployment money, and actually had it. Don't be stupid. That's one rule. But people who actually have money, I learned this years and years ago. People who have real money, they don't wear it. They don't, they don't drive it. A lot of the times people that you see driving the most fancy cars they don't really have money. They just are leasing a car.
Right.
And they might be parking it, who knows where, because they don't own their own home. So, it flashes not well.
Yeah, I talk to all kids all the time that, I ask every child when I'm engaging and talking about financial literacy, how many kids would love to be rich? And of course, they all raise their hands. Like your focus is to become rich. And I'm like, I want you to change that mindset and change that narrative, because I don't want any of you to become rich. What I want you to become is of value. I want you to establish value in what it is that you are and what it is that you do. Because when you establish value in who you are, people cannot do without your product or service. And when people can't do without your product or service, success and money will follow. So switch the narrative from becoming rich, instead becoming of value. When you're becoming of value, you invest in who you are. That's why I tell kids the best player on a league is not the best player. He's the most valuable player. The player that brings the most to his team, player that brings the most to his league. And said, I want every one of you to establish value into yourself, establish more, your character, your energy, your strength, your knowledge, your intellect, your mannerisms. Invest in yourself and become of value. And that way, that is how you become successful. And the trick to that, or the spin-off to that, is that money and success will follow.
All right. So you go into the schools and you teach these lessons.
Yes, I've been fortunate. My goodness, I probably have visited over 200 schools in the past 10 years since I've been an author, and it's not just about financial literacy. I talk about, like I said, I have 6 books. Only 2 of them focus on financial literacy. I was out of school. What's today? Today is Tuesday. So on Friday, I was just out of school where I reside here in Fresno, California, which I just moved a month ago. But prior to that, I was in Massachusetts and would visit schools literally across the country.
Wow. So you went cross country for real. You went coast to coast.
I went cross country,
absolutely.
Yes. Yeah. I lived in the Northeast my entire life. In New York City for 20 years, for 30 years, for Western Massachusetts for 20 years, and then the rest of it here.
So what did you start this?
What's that?
Okay, we're both asking questions at the same time, so I'll let you go first.
What prompted the move?
Believe it or not, my girlfriend. I met my girlfriend in February on TikTok, and she lived in Fresno. I lived in Western Massachusetts. We physically met a month later. We fell in love, and I thought that I didn't want to live without her, so I moved to Fresno to be with her.
Aww.
My kids are older. My youngest is 19, and she's away in college. So I figured this is Dad's time now to shine and build a better life for himself. And I'm doing that with the woman that I love.
Oh, that's beautiful.
I didn't know people dated on TikTok, but I guess everything goes on.
Yeah, everything is everywhere. There's no rules anymore. Like,
Right. I've seen many a couple get together on because of YouTube, Instagram, TikTok,
Facebook dating too, but
it's not so much dating sites. It's just that you wind up meeting someone who has similar interests, and then
100%. 100%. Yeah, that's exactly what happened.
So are people still using the dating sites?
Oh, for sure. I think that they're using them. I think that they probably have reached a high, and that there's a lot of people who are disingenuous or even scam artists on sites now. So I think people are trying to date a little bit more traditionally, but the way that society has engaged with one another on the internet is never ever going away, is never ever going to change. So dating sites will probably only become more prominent. I just hope they become safer, because there's a lot of nefarious ways that people utilize social media pages and dating sites as a way to harm people. But that could happen when you're meeting somebody in the supermarket. So I think it's just important that we use common sense and our own due diligence.
Absolutely. Now, moving on to a brighter subject.
Okay.
How did you get somebody you like?
Yeah, well, no, that was great, but then we started talking about that online.
The dark side of the dark.
Yeah. But no, how did you begin to establish your platform as?
I'm sorry. So this is my nanny. She's the reason that I moved to California. She can't hear because I have my headphones on. Yeah, go saying hello. Okay. I just wanted to show her off.
So cute. No, I was just asking, how did you go about establishing your platform as a speaker? And then the second part of that is, and I know you have it on your Instagram page, how you were able to sell so many books. And I'm thinking that the two went together.
The two are absolutely intertwined. When I first became an author and I started, going to bookstores to see if they would carry my books, I quickly discovered that whether bookstores, big or small, national or local or independent, really want nothing to do with Like, it's very hard. Most bookstores, order their books through their regular, companies and distributors, and they don't want some guy walking off the street, with a couple of books. So that was very discouraging to discover that, like the predominant way that you would sell books is people, those people kind of slam their doors in my face. So then I really thought about it and I asked myself a very simple question. Who am I trying to get my books into the hands of? Well, I write children's books, so I'm not trying to get my books into the hands of children. Well, where are children? Children are not in bookstores. They're not in Target. They're not in Walmart. They're in schools. They're in daycare centers. They're in youth organizations. So why wouldn't I just go directly to those institutions, eliminate the middleman, and promote myself as an advocate for promoting literacy? So not only does that get me book sales, but it makes me an expert in the field of literacy. Yes. And that's a part of where I talked about establishing value, because the majority of my revenue is generated from speaking engagement, not from book sales, but it's that investment that I made into myself to become a more involved, a more aware, a more conscious speaker. And combining that with being an author made me of value to the schools that I would go visit. So now when I go and visit schools, I'm not just talking about my books, I'm talking about literacy. And the way I like to do that is injecting humor and inspiration. In addition to being an author, I like to say if Dr. Seuss, Tony Robbins, and Kevin Hart had a love child, it would be me. So when I go to visit schools, I do, all schools presentation with 400, 500, 600 kids at a time. It's pretty much like a pep rally about reading. We have an amazing time. We laugh. We use pop culture and music and dance as a way to bond reading and literacy as a form of entertainment. And in addition to that, I've had the pleasure of doing 3 TED Talks about illiteracy in our country. I've been featured on numerous television programs, including Disney Plus, if you happen to have it. That tells a little bit of my story. And a lot of it is just community involvement. And that community involvement gets me in schools, it gets me in media, and those things, if you just hustle and work hard, just escalate.
Mm-hmm. Well, you definitely are an inspiration to people. And, you have a positive energy and attitude that would attract people. So that's important.
Mm-hmm. Well, thank you. Again, I think that's part of the investment that I make in myself, but it's also part of my purpose and my joy. Like, this is what I'm supposed to do. I tell kids that Mark Twain, poet, once said, the 2 most important days of your life are the day you were born and the day you find out why. Exactly. And the day that I became an author, I knew why I was here. And it made sense for me just to being the best energetic children's book author that I can, to be a source of inspiration to those, whether it's about literacy or overcoming obstacles or getting out of the hood or financial literacy, and just being a beacon of hope and light. And again, that investment that I've made in myself has paid tremendous dividends.
Something you said early on intrigued me when you said that you grew up on welfare, but you all never talked about money. And that seems like counterintuitive, in that it seems like you all would be talking about money all the time because it was lacking.
Well, I think, and I'm sorry, go ahead.
No, I mean, that's the first time I've heard anybody say that they didn't talk about money and they were on welfare and they never talked about money.
Well, I think the lack of finance and financial literacy brings a certain level of shame. And for most people, when they feel shameful of something, it's very difficult to discuss it. Shame in any capacity. And, first of all, my mother was 15 when she had me. She didn't know but so much, and just trying to, work hard, hustle, and, raise a couple of boys in the Bronx, there are no financial literacy classes, that were accessible to her. She just did what she could with how she was taught. And I think it's because of that lack of financial literacy, that lack of knowledge, that brings a little bit of shame when it comes to learning about finance. I think it's a big reason why many families don't discuss money, not because they don't know it's important. Of course they know it's important, but lack of financial literacy and lack of finances as a whole, brings a level of insecurity that I think most people would rather, shy away from. Most kids, don't learn about money until they're out on their own. And by then, what they predominantly know is how to spend it.
I think it brings it also brings an air of depression, because
Sure.
when you start to talk about money, you start to talk about the bills that you have to pay. You talk about what you're not able to do because you don't have the money. You talk about it in such negative terms that sometimes people just don't want to talk about it.
Sure, I agree. Absolutely.
Yeah, that's why sometimes I say I don't feel like talking about money. Not because I don't want to talk about money, it's because I don't want to hear the sob stories, or I don't want every time I say something, your answer is I ain't got it. I'm so broke. I can't do this. I don't want to hear that. I don't feel like we need to live from a place of lack to where we're always saying that we don't have it. And something that my business coach tries to instill in us all the time is that if we don't have it, we have the capacity to go make some money. We don't have to keep sitting here saying we don't have it. I mean,
Yeah.
Gwyneth said it herself. Hey, if I need something, I'm going to create a program and I'm going to make some money.
There are many things this world is lacking. Money is not one of them. There is an abundance of money out in the world, and there's only a lack of figuring out how to make it. There's no lack of it. And when people, like when I first moved to California, first thing people would say is like, I would never live there, it's so expensive. Well, first of all, it's the fifth largest economy in the world. Like, that's how big California is. So there's a tremendous amount of money here. And not everybody here makes six figures, so somehow or another they figured out a way. But I think you said it perfectly. Like, people just have a mentality of lack. And it's easier to make excuses than to generate the ideas to create more money. And so, but I think also that's where reading comes into play, because there's nothing that expands your imagination more. There's nothing that gives you more education about doing whatever it is that you want to do. And it gives you access to be able to speak to literally one-on-one the greatest minds that have ever lived. If I want to have a conversation with Malcolm X tonight, I could pick up a book and have a one-on-one conversation with Malcolm X about how he became successful.
I thought you were going to say you could pick up the phone and call him. I was about
oh, hey, we ain't doing all that. That I cannot do. But I can pick up, that's funny, but I can pick up the autobiography of Malcolm X from Alex Haley, which is one of the greatest books most important books I've ever read, and literally get the entire story on how he became as influential a leader as he can be. Now, I can do that with anybody. I could do that with Steve Jobs. I could do that with Oprah. I could do that with Michael Jackson. I could have a one-on-one conversation with the greatest minds that have ever lived. And you can only do that through the pages of a book.
Amen. Amen.
Now, I have a question about the age group for your book. Like, who do you target?
Yeah, so I have two picture books that would target kids from birth to maybe 4 or 5 years old. And then all of my chapter books, including Danny Dollar's Make Your Own Money, I would say are for older elementary school kids. So I say 3rd, 4th, and 5th graders. And some people have thought that maybe this book might be a little too sophisticated for 3rd graders. But, I really believe that we have to do a better job of speaking up to our kids. I know that we're very accustomed to talking down and meeting them where they are. I think we got to do a better job and get into the habit of talking to kids so that they speak up and speak to where we are and give them a better idea and concept. Kids are sponges. It's a lot easier to teach a 5-year-old how to play piano than a 25-year-old to play piano.
Yes, exactly.
So,
true.
It's essential.
We have too many bad habits.
Yeah, and we keep, especially children, we keep dismissing how brilliant and intelligent they are. They are clean slates that have yet to be poisoned with all the minutia and BS that our society has thrusted upon them. And instead, whether it's learning another language or learning how to play an instrument, you have a much better job of doing it when they're younger than when they're older.
Yeah, 8 years old, they say that's the maximum of being able to teach a child 2 languages at one time.
Yep.
That if you do it by 8 years old, they can be bilingual, like for the rest of their lives. But after 8, it becomes more challenging. So it's,
that makes perfect sense.
Yeah, from birth until those early years are so crucial. And you're right, children are sponges and they will gravitate. Children, one thing children don't start having is self-doubt. until later. I don't know when that kicks in, but when they're very young, they don't have the self-doubt, which means they're much more open to learning new concepts. And that's why you teaching them about money at that young age is so crucial.
Well, it's a fact that children are heard the word no substantially more than they hear the word yes, and we're constantly stifling our children, from don't cross the street, don't go around the corner, don't hang out with your friends, don't climb that tree, don't, like, we're constantly suppressing our children with things that especially bring forth a sense of adventure. And, and I'm really fortunate that my mother kind of let me do my own thing. And now I know we live in an age where things are very dangerous in some capacity. But you know what? I think we've just got to do a better job of being giving our kids more calculated senses of adventure and letting them go out and explore the world. When we're constantly telling our children, you can't do that, they grow up thinking that they can't do that.
Right.
So we have to do a better job at a very early stage giving our children an affirmating mindset. Like, let them explore, let them think. If they're banging on the pots, don't tell them not to bang on the pots, buy them a drum set. If they're drawing on the walls, don't tell them stop drawing on the walls, buy them an art set. Like the next Questlove that's banging on that's 2 years old, that's banging on the pots, could be Questlove in 30 years from now. But if you keep saying don't bang on the pot, we can have the next Basquiat or the next Picasso who's drawing on the walls at 2, 3, 4 years old. But the moment that you say stop doing that and suppress them, now they've taken that away from them. I firmly believe that the greatest architects and scientists and engineers never became that because we suppressed them and told them, no, you can't. Stop tinkering, stop banging, stop making noise. And it suppresses them and they never find their gifts and their talents.
You just said a word right there. I guess that's a great way to end the show. But no, that is so true. We cannot keep suppressing our children. And whenever I hear young people, and I'm talking even young adults, who say things like Black people don't, as soon as they start a sentence with that, I turn my mind off. I'm like, we've got to stop limiting ourselves based
Absolutely.
on. So as you were talking, that's what I was thinking of, is how many times that we have stopped certain people from doing things because we've made them believe that Black people don't do it.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And I believe that, who was it? Les Brown said the richest place in the world is the graveyard, because that's where the greatest dreams and aspirations and inventions have gone to die, because people have taken their gifts to the grave with them because they have been suppressed and told no for almost all of their lives. And then after a while, they actually get to believe it and die with their gifts inside of them.
Amen, amen, amen.
Well, show us, cover the book again, your latest one, Make Your Own Money, and let our audience know where they can get that book and your other books.
So Make Your Own Money is available at every bookstore, local and big. Whether you want to go to Barnes and Nobles or your local bookstore, you'll be able to find Make Your Own Money, How to Earn It, Save It, Spend It, and Dream Big. I'm also proud to say that this book is the foundation of the Danny Dollar Entrepreneur Fair that we just launched last year in Massachusetts, and we're expanding it this year in California, where kids will expand their minds about becoming entrepreneurs. The Danny Dollar Entrepreneur Fair is exactly the same as a science fair, except instead of discussing how they make light bulbs light or a volcano works, they talk about their ideas for a business. So that's all the brainchild from Danny Dollar's Make Your Own Money.
Okay, well, thank you so much for being a guest on Black Authors Matter TV, and continued success of selling all those books.
I will. Can't stop, won't stop in the name of
That's
P. Diddy.
right.
But I thank you so much for your time, and thank you for what it is that you do to showcase people who are out in the world creating books. Thank you.
And thank you for all that you're doing for our kids. Keep doing what you're doing.
Yes, ma'am. Will do. I'm on it.
All right. Have a great night and happy holidays.
Happy holidays to you both. Be well.
Okay. Good night.
Good night.
All right. So before we go, did anyone win these books?
Yeah, Mary won one of them.
Which one?
She won. Mary, which one you win? Mary, I lost it, doggone it. First of all, I think Tony Bonita won. Wasn't the answer Charleston?
Yeah, that was for this one.
Yeah, Tony
Okay,
Benito
Tony
won
Benito
that.
won that one. Okay.
Uh-huh. And I lost Mary's answer, but Mary won the other one, Anthony.
Okay. Okay. Yes, that was the correct answer.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. Well, we gave away our books for this week. And that is the end of our show. We will be back next week with another amazing episode of Black Authors Matter TV. And until then, you all keep supporting African American literature. By support, I mean buy the books. I'm Gwen Richardson signing off.
And I'm Dr. Rhonda Lawson. Have a wonderful evening and a great week.
Thank you for tuning in and join us next Tuesday at 7 p.m. Central, 8 p.m. Eastern for another edition of Black Authors Matter TV.